What's up, y'all? Happy Sunday. I am so grateful, so excited, and so happy to be here tonight. I really pray that these messages, that whatever comes through this live, through this recording, is going to touch someone in the deepest way possible for the sake of empowerment, elevation, and transformation, because that's what this is all about. I have been led, God led, for quite some time to start doing a more spiritually inclined type of series. And so I've decided that every Sunday evening I'm going to be publishing loading up another episode of my weight loss sermons. And so every Sunday, that's going to be something that you'll be able to look forward to. It's still going to be all weight loss, health, and wellness related, but it's going to be tied into very much the word and how weight loss directly ties into the obedience, especially for Christian women. So I'm Anna J. Fit, and I specialize in helping women lose weight, and especially helping Black mothers heal generational weight, body, mind, and spirit by regulating their nervous system and reclaiming their God-given power. And the message that I want to convey tonight, that I want to talk about, is absolutely about weight loss, but it's not addressing the topic of weight loss in a traditional way, in the classic type of way, in a way that you would expect for someone to talk about weight loss. And it's certainly not approaching the topic of weight loss in any way that you have been taught before. I just want to be really clear about that. So what we're going to be talking about tonight is about how losing weight, how releasing the physical weight is part of something so much bigger than vanity or appearance or anything that could be surface level in any way, shape, or form. And truly, I firmly believe that releasing the physical weight, shedding the physical weight, losing the weight is all about allowing the body, the temple, to heal so that it is able to create the space, create the energy, create the capacity for each and every single one of us to actually follow through on the calling that God placed on our lives. And I'm going to go deeper into this. Every single week, every single month, it's happened a lot, especially in the last 6 months, which also very much has encouraged me to talk about weight loss in a more spiritual way. I will have consultation calls with women who talk about the fact that they know deep down, intuitively, they have a sense of, I'm supposed to be doing great things. I'm supposed to be doing more than what I'm currently doing. I've heard stories about dreams, vision boards that were full of stuff related to nonprofit organizations that they were supposed to launch, books that they were supposed to write, businesses that they're supposed to create, things that they're supposed to design, things that they're supposed to speak on, messages that they have for their communities, roles that they're supposed to be playing inside of their churches. But that'll be followed by a but. I haven't followed through on any of that. I haven't been able to do those things that I feel so strongly called to do, say, or whatever. Why? Because I'm so tired. Because I'm drained, I'm sluggish, I'm exhausted all the time. And I don't have the capacity. I don't have the bandwidth. My body doesn't feel good. And what I've often heard a lot, in which we often either are too embarrassed or ashamed to acknowledge and talk about openly, is that when we are overweight, when we don't feel good in our temples, when we feel sluggish, drained, exhausted all the time, when we can't fit into the clothes that make us feel good, right? That part isn't necessarily vanity or superficial either, because it's just the reality of how we feel. But that it has a very distinct and very strong impact on our inability to walk into rooms and light up rooms because we don't have the confidence and we don't have the self-esteem. And if you're listening to this tonight, and if you're on a weight loss journey, how many times have you literally felt that the physical weight is stopping you or preventing you or holding you back from showing up in a more confident way? How many times has it stopped you from demanding promotions? How many times has it stopped you from even applying for promotions or applying for certain jobs where you knew that you would be more in the public eye? How many times has it prevented you from doing a branding shoot and you've been talking about this website, you have the image of the website, you've got the vision of the business, which, by the way, all of that is God placing those things on your heart. It's not random. It's not coincidence. But how many times have you gone through these revisions and divisions and edited them in your mind and pictured them so very clearly, but haven't been able to follow through? Because guess what? You can't make yourself, you cannot get to the point where you're doing that branding shoot because you do not feel confident. You do not feel good in your body. You do not like the reflection that you see looking back at you when you look in the mirror, right? And so I hear these things, I have these conversations so often. And it made me realize that we talk about weight loss for health reasons. We talk about weight loss for confidence reasons. We talk about weight loss because we want to find love and feel confident in our intimate lives. We talk about weight loss from the aspect of, I don't want to be a better mother, and I want to be able to be hands-on with my children. I want to be able to break generational cycles. I want to be able to teach my children and grandchildren how to not end up overweight and obese and develop all these issues. We talk about weight loss from all those angles, but when do we talk about weight loss as an obligation, as a duty, as a sign of our obedience to God, because God has placed a calling on our lives that we are not able to fulfill because we carry too much weight and we're too busy being depleted, living in bodies in a temple that feels depleted, struggling with a brain that is distracted. Yes, the brain fog. Can't think clearly, which you have to have the ability to think clearly to follow through on your calling, your mission, and your purpose, right? How many of us are feeling distracted by pain? So many aches and pains that are directly caused and related to your body carrying too much weight. How many of us are distracted by pain? How many of us are stuck on heavy pain medications when really the pain, the aches and pains are symptoms that we could be addressing and eliminating if we lost the weight? It's all interconnected. So in addition to that, there's a brain fog. So now we can't think clearly. We can't speak clearly. We can't design things clearly. The brain is the key. But then there's a sickness. Because how many of us on this journey are finding ourselves spending entirely too much time in dialysis clinics? How many of us are spending entirely too many hours in doctors' waiting rooms? How many of us are getting follow-ups done every 30, 60, 90 days for our blood sugars, for our blood pressure, right? And anything else in between. How many of us are feeling so exhausted, and it's the direct cause of a poor diet, right? An unhealthy lifestyle, lack of hydration, not moving your body strategically and intentionally enough, carrying too much weight physically, and the exhaustion causes that purpose to continue to get delayed. And that delay of your purpose and your mission and your calling isn't God's doing. Let that sink in for a second. Because so often we get caught up in, oh, I'm so frustrated, I'm so upset, I'm so overwhelmed, I'm pissed, I'm angry, it must not be for me. Because it feels like it's being delayed. It feels like it's taking too long to manifest. It feels like it's taking too long to become our reality. When in fact, we are the cause of that delay. And at the root, it's because we're not properly taking care of the temple, which is the vessel that we need in order to follow through on the mission, the calling, etc. And so we're looking at the delay from a totally a false lens, basically. We're tricking ourselves into believing that it's being done to us, when in fact, we are the ones causing the delay ourselves. We're doing it to ourselves. So it's not that the delay is happening because God is not calling you. That was never the problem. That was never even the question in the first place. But the delay is happening because the vessel is worn down. The vessel is worn down. So you cannot fully walk in your calling when your body is chronically depleted. And that's just facts. That's just a reality. And the scripture tells us that God's vision for each and every single one of us is not delayed. It's never delayed. That's never the problem. But it's just that many of us are too busy being exhausted. We're too busy fighting inflammation in our bodies because we're drinking too much alcohol. We're eating too much dairy. The gut health is just not where it needs to be. We're eating way too many processed foods when we need to be focusing on the whole foods that God has provided us with. So now we're popping all kinds of pills saying, oh, well, my body is so inflamed. But the inflammation is the direct cause of the way that we're living. Now we're sitting here so stressed, chronically overly stressed, and overwhelmed by choice. Overwhelmed by choice. So the vision is there. The calling is there. The mission is there. And it has your name attached to it. That's something else that I really want to be clear on. Is that when God assigns a mission, that mission is attached to a very specific person. For example, this right here, my weight loss sermons, and me seeing the vision or receiving the vision and the calling and getting that nudge for the last couple of months of, hey, you need to incorporate more of my messages. You need to speak more of the scripture. You need to bring God into this, right? And you need to refer to the body more as the temple and the vessel than just the body. These are all things that are meant specifically for me. Why? Because weight loss and fitness and empowering and uplifting women, and especially Black mothers, is my ministry. That is something that was placed on my life. It has my name attached to it. But I wouldn't be able to show up and fully follow through with that calling that has my name all over it. It's mine. It's mine. It's designed only for me. And I am responsible, and it's my duty and my obligation. I have to be obedient. When I received this and when I understood the assignment, I realized that there is no turning my back on this. There is no saying no. I have to be obedient. I have to show up. I have to create the space, the energy, the time, whatever it takes in order to do what it is that I'm being called to do, because that's called obedience. But there was a time in my life where I was too busy being exhausted, tired, sluggish, drained, tired, inflamed, stressed, overwhelmed, right? Didn't feel good in my body, and my confidence was absolutely shot, so that I wouldn't even have ever been recording any type of videos, any type of content, putting any type of messages out. And I didn't feel strong and confident enough in my temple as the person that I am to fully embrace and acknowledge what God wanted me to do anyways. I had to get to that place, but getting to that place required what? That I invested in myself, that I prayed, that I did the work, that I continue to show up each and every single day on my healing journey to make sure that ultimately I get to the point where, oh, now the vessel is ready. So the vision exists, and the vision has always existed, and the mission and the purpose and the calling is directly attached to your name, whatever that looks like for you specifically. But our individual capacity to carry the vision is often compromised by the way that we're living our lives. And that is why weight loss runs so much deeper than I want to look good in a bikini to go to Aruba in the summer. Do y'all feel me? That's why weight loss is literally so much deeper than just, I really want to look cute and I'm tired of looking like I'm 9 months pregnant, even though I'm not and my children are grown, when I wear this dress to go to such and such wedding. Those are factors that matter. Let me not downplay that. Because when women feel good, when women feel confident, when women feel sexy, when women feel attractive, desirable, etc., we show up differently. So all of that matters too. But ultimately, the reason why the weight loss is key is because it opens up the floodgates, literally, for us to start using our vessels to their full capacity to be out here having the impact that God is calling us to have. So remember this, the vision exists, the vision always has existed, the mission has always been yours, right? The calling has always been yours, attached to your name directly. It's your ministry, not mine. But it's your capacity to carry it out that has been compromised for too long. And so you have to start asking yourself, how much more of God's grace am I going to use and abuse? How much more of God's time am I going to waste? Because God is sitting here waiting on you to follow through with what it is that you're meant to follow through on. But you still are not in a place where you have the capacity to carry that vision out. That's a problem. And when you think about it, it's like, ooh, the audacity, right? This is why weight loss matters. This is why weight loss matters. And especially, let me be 100,000% clear on this. Weight loss matters for all people because it's attached to health, it's attached to confidence, it's attached to how we show up, it's attached to how we treat others and what we teach our children and grandchildren and whoever else. Yes. However, for Black mothers, which Black mothers have been the most neglected and abandoned segment in America, period. For Black mothers, weight loss is literally a matter of life and death at this point. It is a matter of being obedient. It is a matter of showing up and saying, you know what? This country, this history, our community, our men have abandoned and neglected us for the longest. But we will no longer carry forward the self-neglect and the self-abandonment. Because just because all of them have had a repeated history of abandoning us and neglecting us doesn't mean that we have to continue to do it to ourselves. So don't get it wrong. Don't get it twisted. Being smaller, being skinnier, whatever, weighing 150 pounds or whatever, doesn't mean holier, right? But what it does mean is a lighter body that leads to clearer minds, that leads to improved energy levels, that leads to better regulated emotions, that leads to elevated moods, that leads to the strength to show up, that leads to the confidence to follow through and to do the things that need to be done. By the way, it leads to the person having more stamina to do the work, because work requires stamina. It does. Hear it all the time. I don't know how you do it. I don't have the energy for all that. Well, that's a problem. That's a problem. And you better figure out a way to improve your energy levels so that you can do what it is that you're called to do, right? And showing up consistently requires stamina. Showing up consistently requires being in good health. Showing up consistently is a whole lot easier when we've lost 50, 60, 70, 80, 100 something pounds. Honoring your body is not punishment. Showing up for yourself and making dietary changes, showing up for yourself consistently and working out, carving time out of your busy schedules to wake up first thing earlier in the morning for your devotionals, spend time with God. None of that is punishment. None of that is a chore. None of that should be viewed as a burden, but more so as, caring for my temple is my duty. Caring for my temple is a sign of obedience to God, right? None of this has to be quote unquote vanity, especially not when the perspective is this deep, especially not when we're looking at the deeper layers that are at play here. It's about stewardship. That's how I look at it. It's about stewardship. It's about devotion. It's about obedience. And ultimately, it creates the stamina that you need to fulfill your purpose and carry forward your God-given mission. Maybe write that down. Seriously. And let me say this. If you know that there is more for you to unlock in your life, if you felt that nudge, that urge, if you felt that intuition, maybe you've heard God tell you, you need to get it together. You really need to get it together. If you realize that every single time you go to the doctor for another physical, things are not looking up. They're continuing to look down with each appointment. You're being warned and you're receiving warnings after warnings. And you have children, potentially grandchildren, and you know that you are meant to do more than what your current job entails, than your current 9 to 5, than your current 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., whatever that looks like. If you know you're meant to write that book, you know you're meant to create that podcast, you know you're meant to create that website and get your branding shoots out here. You know you're meant to launch that nonprofit organization. There's a mission out here. And again, it has your name attached to it. So nobody else can carry out that mission the way that you have the potential and the capacity to carry it out. It's really important, right? If you know those things deep down, but you also know that your body has been holding you back. You also know that your temple has not been living in a state of safety, and you haven't been thriving in your body. This is your official invitation. This is your official invitation to have a conversation with me. Let's get on a consultation call and let's talk about what liberating you from the weight, body, mind, and spirit is going to look like, especially as we go into a new year. And I really want to make sure that if you feel this deeply and it resonates with you spiritually, you want to make sure that you don't miss, especially that shift that comes with, that energy shift that comes with the new year. That's the best time. I don't like New Year's resolutions. I think they're bullcrap. I think they set people up for absolute failure and they're never realistic. However, the start of something new, the start of something fresh, it always gives us that extra opportunity, the extra boost, the extra energy that we need in order to make our elevation and transformation happen more effortlessly. Is it going to be easy? I never said that, right? It's not going to be easy, but is it going to be worth it? Absolutely. But even more than that, is it your obligation? Yes. Are you going to be obedient? And are you going to answer the call? Let me ask you again. Are you going to be obedient? And are you going to answer the call? So this is my invitation to you. If you know that you need to heal that generational weight, body, mind, and spirit, and that you need to go into 2026 creating the capacity to walk into your calling, and that you know that the stumbling block and the biggest hurdle right now is your temple, is the physical body, that it needs to be addressed, then this is your invitation for you to send me a DM. Just send the word liberation. Liberation, because this is a movement. Send me the word liberation via DM, and we're going to have a conversation based off of that. And the last thing that I wanted to say before I leave y'all tonight is that the enemy doesn't always stop our purpose by having us sinning or having us engaging in any activities we ain't got no business engaging in, or doing things we have no business doing. Sometimes the enemy stops us from our greater purpose, stops us from our mission, stops us from following through on our calling, our divinely led and guided calling, purpose, and mission, by depleting our bodies. So the devil, the enemy, is over here partying and celebrating the fact that some of us out here are not living up to our full potential, are not out here changing and transforming our communities and the world like we are supposed to. We're not fully connected to our God-given powers and utilizing them for the greater good. And the enemy is throwing a party and is celebrating because the enemy sees that. And it's like, there she goes again, eating all them fries and drinking all the sweet tea and drinking all the sodas and being hooked on caffeine, the Monsters, the Red Bulls, the everything. Now she's developing heart disease. She's 98 pounds overweight. Oh, I am rejoicing in her misery. The enemy is always at work. The enemy is always at work. And I want to make sure I left y'all with this, because sometimes that's also the extra motivation that you need to be like, wait a minute. If I'm walking in God's footsteps, and if I'm walking along the path that is God-led and inspired by God, right? Then there's no room for me to live in this way. There's no room for me to continue to put the trash and the toxicity into my body. There's no room for me to continue to allow myself to be glued to a couch and eating Doritos like it's nobody's business from sunup to sundown and not get on the walking path, although I have a Peloton and a Nordic track and the weights and everything else. No, 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 no. It's directly feeding into exactly what the enemy wants you and I and everybody else to do. If we're healthy, think about it, we're more powerful. If we feel good in our bodies, think about it. We're going to show up with incredible stamina and energy. And we're going to say things that when we weren't feeling good and we weren't feeling confident and we felt small, we would have never said. We wouldn't be out here getting the promotions if we felt like the weight is holding us back, body, mind, and spirit. It's so many things that the weight is literally holding us back from doing it, from being it, from saying it, from feeling. And the enemy could not be happier to keep us in that place. So think about it that way. And again, my invitation to you, if you've been feeling the nudge and the call, and you are ready to answer the call, and you know that there's greater out there for you, and you know God is counting on you to follow through on that very specific call and mission and ministry that has your name attached to it, it's time that you start to live differently. And if you don't know what to do, and you've tried all the millions of things like most women have, then this is my invitation for you to send me a DM. Just send me the word liberation, and then you and I will have a conversation about your weight loss journey, about your goals, the struggles, what's been in the way. And then I will come up with a game plan, present that to you, and then we will go from there. Do not let 2026 pass you by and you miss out on that new, that fresh, that rejuvenating energy to make that shift, and that identity shift, and that elevation that you so desperately need to make. At this point, it's a matter of obedience. Peace.